let my story be the last story being told about a girl who went through FGM. I don't want their story to be that. That was my story. Their story is going to be different. And so that's what I want to be told out there.
Dr. Kakenya Ntaiya is a trailblazer in girls' education and empowerment. She's the founder of Kakenya's Dream, a non-profit organization that uses education as a tool to uplift vulnerable girls and strengthen rural communities in Kenya. As the first woman from her Maasai village to attend college in the United States, she's dedicated her life to ensuring other girls in her community have the opportunity to choose their own future.
I also want mine. Yeah. Dr. Kakenya Ntaiya is, I would say, I am a passionate girls advocate. I believe so strongly that in order for us to eradicate some of the issues that are going on in the world, you have to invest in girls. You have to give girls an opportunity to thrive. And so I have made my mission to make that a possibility. But that's not where I started. I grew up in a small village in a place called Maasai, where I am the first of 8 children. Growing up that time, there were few girls who went to school. Girls, I think we went to school to socialize and to pass time, and the biggest goal that a girl could have was to get married and have a family. And so all of us, I think, as a young girl, actually, I was engaged as I tell people 5 years, but I always remember that I was much younger when my grandmother actually told me, your husband just passed by, that's your husband. And so, and it was a good thing because, that is the ultimate thing. So being engaged at a younger age, my family knew that I'm already set for a husband. But I went to school.
But Dr. Kakenya wanted more than what tradition dictated. Watching her female teachers, she dreamt of becoming a teacher herself, a vision that kept her determined.
When I went to school, I had this passion and dream of becoming a teacher. I was inspired by female teachers who were teaching me. I liked the way they were dressed. I liked the way they were just working on the board. I just saw them and I said, this is really what I wanted. And my life, I kind of held into that dream of wanting to become a teacher.
Kakenya witnessed firsthand the challenges facing girls in her community. One by one, her classmates left school, each facing the painful reality of early marriage and female genital mutilation.
I remember in class 6, actually, my best friend got married. And so that time it was, we had to go through female genital cutting because that's really the transition. So in class 6, my best friend, we closed school in December. She went through female genital cutting that December, and she never came back to school. So going into class 7, there were fewer girls in class 7. And that time in class 7, there was, in order to transition to class 8, there was a test that we had to do so that when you're going to class 8, you get your index number. And I remember that a lot of girls got married in class 7, but I was so determined to continue with school. So I did, I managed to get a good grade, passing grade, to go to class 8. So in class 8, there were only 2 girls and a lot of boys. It was kind of like my growing up. I come from a very humble background. Even though my father was a policeman, he lived in the city. He would come home maybe once a year. Sometimes we didn't see him. And so my mother was like the solid rock that did a lot of work to give us opportunity to go to school. I worked on so many people's farm. I walked into places to sell tomatoes. I sold bananas. I did a lot of kibarua, I would say, to be able to support my mother to bring up my siblings. And so I knew that what I was so struggling to be is that I wanted to become a teacher, one, because I wanted to have money, and then I wanted to help my mother to do that.
Her determination to continue her education grew stronger, but so did the pressure to undergo female genital mutilation, a traditional rite of passage seen as necessary before marriage in her community. This ceremony signified that a girl had become a woman, and resisting it was unheard of. Despite her dreams, Kakenya knew that to be accepted by her family and community, she would have to go through the painful ritual.
But I was fortunate that I finished class 8 exam, and that is really where things changed. Because now there was there had never been a girl who goes all the way to class 8 to continue to secondary before going through FGM. So that's you had to go through it to become a big girl, to become a woman, to be recognized. And so I was seen as now I'm becoming this girl, this big girl. And I managed at that time. I told my dad, I remember he had come and they were starting to arrange for the ceremony to happen for going through FGM. And I told my dad that let's wait for the national exam to come out. So if I have not done well, I can go through FGM and then get married and whatever. So that he kind of just reluctantly okay, he knew that I was not going to do well because I missed school a lot. And so anyway, so the exams results came out, and that time it was like a surprise event for me, because the whole of December, you're sitting there waiting for those. And those times the results were coming out in February. And it's so hard. So I was praying and just praying that I get good, I just get good marks to go to secondary school. So the results came out. My dad was so happy because I had done well than any of the girls and even than the boys that were there. So he was he was going to the bars and friends were buying him, your daughter is eh. So he was a happy man. And he said, okay, you have done well. Let me take your result slip and go find you a good school in Nairobi. So he packed and he left with my result slip. He went to Nairobi. I was so excited. I was wow, Mimi, I'm going to go to high school. I'm going to go to Nairobi. I was so excited. And I got also accepted to Kipsigis Girls. That time it was really good. I was wow, so excited. February came, it went. There was no communications. I had gotten the Kipsigis Girls admission. And so, I could go there. But I was still waiting for my dad. So the kids reported in Form 1. I was not there. March came, my dad was not there. And I realized that I told my mom, dad is not coming back. I had this feeling that was it. So my mom struggled to find a school that we can afford. And I just knew that I wanted to I did not want to go to a day school. I just wanted to go to a boarding school. And so I had an uncle who was also very supportive, and he took my result slip and went to socio-secondary, which is in Kilgoris. And I got an admission. It was very exciting. I was so happy. And I was going to Form 1 when so many kids had already gone into the school. Pretty excited. When those times you have this list of things that you have to bring to school. So, you have to bring the towel, you have to bring slippers, you have to bring, djembe, you have to bring, there was a list, So I could get most of the things. And then I literally had to go to the house and look for whatever slippers I could get into the house, as much because I didn't want to buy anything. Because we didn't have money. We didn't have even enough money to pay the school fees. So I went to Kilgoris to socio-secondary. Arriving on admission, I did not have enough money. And then somehow, I don't know if I didn't have, there was something I didn't have that was so critical. They couldn't admit me. They told me to go back. I went to the stage that's supposed to take people to Maasai, and I cried. I cried. But I was fortunate that one of the pastor that was my pastor in my church had a business. He had a butchery in Kilgoris, and he found out that I was crying. And he said, don't cry, we'll go to school. And he gave me whatever that I needed for that, and I went to school. I went to Form 1. I did not have a sweater because I didn't have money to buy a sweater, I remember. I stayed for close to 3 weeks or 1 month because my mom had to go look for more money to buy a sweater. So I just stayed there. We were in this dormitory with all these girls with lotions and what? Yeah, I was like, what brought me here? It's education. So I stuck to it. And of course, there were so many things happened. But the worst was when we closed school in April. I was excited coming home. Man, nimetoka shule. And from a distance, I could hear bells. So in traditional Maasai, when we were going through FGM, those times, we were actually celebrating. So there were bells that we have to naimba everybody to know that we are going through this cut. And I could hear from far, there's this belt. And I'm like, this is not normal because mostly FGM happens in December. But it is happening. So the more I came closer, the more I realized it was in our home. My sister, who was in primary school, was the one, and another lady another girl who was also I think she was in class 7 or something, and they were excited. So we were singing, and I came home, something just told me that this is the end of your education. And I was so upset. I went home, my mom had already prepared all those things, the food and everything, and we were supposed to go have this fun, and my heart was not there. I just remember telling Dad that I can only go through this if you promise that I am going to go back to school. Otherwise, I'm going away. I was determined that I was going to run away. I was going to disappear. And because it's very unusual for a Maasai girl to face her dad, we have this very strong separation of girls stay with their mother and the boys stay with their dad. I can't just approach my dad like that. It is very disrespectful if I did that. But I knew that I had to do it. Because if if I said to send my mother to do it, she's going to be beaten, there will be abuse and all of that. So I was very fortunate that when I told my dad, he kind of just said, sawa, okay, you will go back to school, He was pretty upset with collect waters, get firewood. I mean, everything is just they are so reduced to like these roles, gender roles that the society is expected.
Following the FGM ordeal, Kakenya's determination grew even stronger. After finishing high school, she applied to a teacher's college and sought help from a man in her community who had connections to the United States in order to explore the possibility of studying abroad.
So anyway, so I finished high school and I applied to the teacher's college, and I actually was accepted. And then through that same process, I had approached a person who from our community, a man from our community who was living in America, and I had known him for a long time. I always saw him coming and going, and he had helped another young man from our community to go to US. So I was like, oh, let me also try this luck. I just approached her. I was like, yeah, so I finished Form 4. Can you help me go to America? You know, sometimes the innocence in persons, just like you approach things and they happen. And he said, oh, okay, I'll see what to do. He went, he brought an application form for me. I filled it up. You know, there were no computers that time. You know, we hand filled, and then he posted it. I had to prepare for TOEFL. I did all that I could to prepare to go.
With acceptance and partial scholarship in hand, her next challenge was finding funding for her air ticket and other expenses. Confident that her community would support her as they had done for boys in similar situations, she organized a committee meeting.
I got the admission, I got some scholarship, but the biggest was getting funding to buy an air ticket, get a passport. Like everything was new for me. Those times, you know, we have to travel to Nairobi, and traveling to Nairobi used to take closer to 15 hours or more, you know, more than 12 hours. You go from where I am to Kisii, from Kisii to Nairobi overnight, and then the next day I didn't really know Nairobi. I got lost a lot of times, but I was so determined to go, and eventually I got the community to raise money for me. I was so innocent, I think, because I had seen the community raise money for boys. And anytime the boy was going abroad, so many went to India, you know, US, and they were so happy. So I went to call for the committee. I was putting a committee together. No one showed up. I think there was like 1 or 2 people showed up. And it was like, oh, I guess the community is not going to raise money for me. And so eventually I ended up, I had to think of how am I going to get these people to come on board? And it was so hard. I went to bed, I cried a lot, I prayed a lot. I woke up, I knew that there was one guy there's this man who, if you want things done, you need him on your side. So I woke up very early before the sunrise. You know, by the time the sun gets up and them getting up, I am in his house. And so, you know, for us in Maasai, you know that there's the man's house and the women and children's house. So I went there and I sat outside the door of the men's house and waited for him. And so as he wakes up, the first thing he's saying, it's me. My daughter, what do you need? What has happened? Like it looked like there's something really bad that has happened, and I was bringing bad news. And I said, you've heard that I have a scholarship to go study in the US. I need to raise money for the ticket, and I need your help. And I told them I will never shame you. I promised anything that I could think of in the world. And I told him I'll make him proud. I just told him everything positive, you know. I will make sure if I go to the US, I'll make sure I'll come and support you. Like, I just told him everything. So his eyes. Oh, okay, I guess I can help you, but I can't do this alone. He gave me a list of so many more men, and I did the same thing every day, brought them together. The community eventually came together, men, women, they raised money, and off I went to the US.
With the community's support, Kakenya finally made her way to the United States. Her journey was just beginning, but her courage and boldness had already created a path for her and countless other girls. Kakenya's experiences in the US expanded her understanding of human rights, education, and girls' empowerment. Inspired, she returned to Kenya with a mission to help other girls avoid the painful practices she had endured.
Kakenya dream was a dream that I think I had as a little girl. I just wanted a place where girls can be girls. I wanted a place where they could just live, they could be happy. Like, they're not sent to go collect waters, get firewood. I mean, everything is just like, they are so reduced to like these roles, gender roles that the society is expected. And after going to the US and getting education there and learning about human rights and learning about children's rights and learning a lot about, and then it opened up a lot of opportunities, not just for me, but also a lot of, I got to learn that there are NGOs, so that we ended up creating Kakenya's Dream. One, because there was actually never an NGO around here. There was, I think, one, but they were all in like Narok and that far. And that time there was still a lot of FGM going on. And I felt pain.
Through Kakenya's Dream, Dr. Ntaiya has helped hundreds of girls, supporting them in continuing their education and breaking free from harmful traditions like FGM and child marriage.
The girls that we started with in 2009, it was one of the most wonderful group. I remember them doing class 8 and 10 of them going to national school. It was a big deal, and to walk the community. It was like, that was a girls' school, and they sent how many to university, to high school? It's not just high school, but national school. So we became out. Everybody wanted their daughter to come here. But those girls continued, and all of them finishing Form 4. And then us making sure that they go to their first destination. The most exciting one is that as we speak right now, several of them are actually doing masters. One of them that I'm always studying, studying technology. These are girls who grew up in the village. They didn't have computers, but they're now studying. One of them actually is doing cyber security. You know where she's going to be in a few years? She's going to be in this big company, making decisions, earning some good money and helping her family, helping her community. I have seen them get married to someone they have chosen to get married to. They have jobs. They are teachers, some are in the health department, some are accountants. Wow. And the beautiful thing is that they did not go through FGM. They did not get married early. They're thriving, which is the most thing that makes me happy, that we created a space and the opportunity to be able to change their lives and change their families.
As a well-recognized advocate, Dr. Ntaiya has received global recognition, but her focus has always been on uplifting girls from her community.
All the opportunities that we get, there's nothing interesting about me, but there's so much more interesting stuff about the girls we support. I mean, if you meet each one of them, if you meet and see some of the things they have overcome, And if I have that platform to raise their voice, if I have that platform to speak up for their rights, if I have that platform to open opportunities for them, that's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do, because at the end of the day, it is really about what legacy do I leave behind? What if I get that opportunity and just say, it's Kakenya, I went, I did what does that help? But if I can be there for someone else, if I can make someone else's life better than mine, you know how much of a joy that is? So whatever opportunity I get is to amplify, get a different story about the Maasai girls. It's not just about us going through FGM and what, but girls who can be leaders, girls who can be smart, girls who, a positive image of Maasai girls. And that's what I really want to translate out there.
Through Kakenya's dream, Dr. Ntaiya continues to transform her community, proving that education is a powerful tool for social change. Her journey from a young Maasai girl with limited options to an international advocate for girls' rights is a testament to resilience and purpose.
I believe so much in education, and I believe that it's the one thing that actually can equalize a society. When people are given knowledge, when people are educated, there are so many more opportunities that opens up for them. If I was not educated, I would not be here now. I would not, Kakenya's dream would not exist. I mean, close to 1,000 kids would not have had an education. But beyond that, I think you know your rights, you can demand your rights. It's like the starting point of things. It's a starting point. I mean, even when you think about running a business, like education is like the central thing that if we embrace it and give kids an equal opportunity for quality education so that they are not just in class just to pass time, but to learn something. And that can open so many opportunities. I think, I think a lot of opportunities gets opened when you have education. And so I see it as like the key to unlocking some of the greatest potentials in the communities and the world is education. So what people need to realize is that FGM and child marriage have existed for centuries. And so you can't just come and say stop. It does not work. It does not work. And so I knew that my thing was trying to stop girls from getting married. But I didn't come and say stop getting girls married. I came and say, can we have the girls go to school? And can we make sure that they are getting a good education? Can we make sure that they're actually performing well in the classroom? Can we make sure that they are transitioning to high school? And then we start working with the parents and say, your daughter is doing so well. What do you think can stop her from continuing with school? And that's the dialogue. FGM comes from them. They're like, oh, if we perform FGM on her, she becomes a woman. And so that means she will not be respected in the community. She can be married. She can be abused. She's now a woman. So she has no more value. Like, she's just a woman. So how can we keep these girls as children as long, until they finish high school? Because no one is going to marry a child. And so a child does not go through FGM. But at the same time, we're educating them about the effects of FGM. And then we're educating the girls about FGM. And so it's like an in and out conversation that started with education. The primary goal is how can we keep the girl to school? So we want to eradicate things that will disrupt her from continuing with school. So when we started doing that, we've been very fortunate that the parents that started with us, it was kind of like, really? She said that the girls going to this school, they're not going through FGM? It's like, really? She said that? And he was like, yeah, I said that. And then I think they tried to put a girl to go through FGM, and this girl came and reported, and we had to go a rescue team. And that rescue is like, I tried to talk to the chief played me. Then I go to the DC that time, they played me. I looked for the highest ranking position in the country and said, I have a girl here who needs to be rescued from FGM, and these people are not helping me. The call came from above. You know how the chief was running? He rescued that girl. He came to the school. He called all the parents and said, from today, you know your child goes to Kakenya's dream, the Kakenya school, you will never cut her. I did not tell them not to do it. The chief came. And so after that, every year they come, they sign this agreement, they stuck with it, they went on. But eventually what we are seeing is that when these girls succeeded, when these girls were doing really well, they were going to university, the parents that their daughters were going to university, they are the ones who are now saying, let's leave this FGM. It destroys our children. Let's leave these early marriages. It does not help them. Look at my daughter. She's now a role model, you know, and then they are role models. I mean, I was pretty much the only one in the community that showed that. And now we have all these role models and everybody's like, no, like FGM is not even a discussion when it comes to Kakenya's dream programming. And like, it's not even a discussion.
Kakenya remains deeply connected to her roots. Despite her international presence, she's committed to her identity as a Maasai woman who understands her community and respects its culture.
One thing that I've really honed into ground me is that I will always be a Maasai girl who grew up in rural Kenya. No matter where I'll go, like I think growing up here shaped who I am. And so I have been able to really, it's interesting because I can translate to an American audience and I can fit in because I went to college there. I've been able to stand in front of crowds and speak, but what really grounds me is my upbringing. And I have always, I always tell God, please humble me so that your work can be glorified. I feel like I am just a vessel. I'm just a little human being that God is using to do great things on earth. And it's not me, it's the team, it's the people, it's all of it's all of the above. And if we can all put our key, like our focus is we are here for the girl. And so it doesn't matter where I am. I'm here for that girl in rural Maasai village that needs access to education, that needs to avoid FGM, that needs to avoid early marriage, that young girl that wants a better future for herself and for her community. I am here to make that happen. I have been fortunate. I have all the doors that have been opened for me is for them. It has nothing to do with me. It's for them. And I want to make that happen. And so that is kind of my guiding principle and my guiding walk, is that it is not about me. It's about the girls, that it's about the future of Kenya. I mean, it's so much more. And so I am just a vessel. I'm just a vessel that can be used to do good things for the world.
When asked about her guiding principles and the legacy she hopes to leave, Dr. Ntaiya's response highlights her commitment to future generations.
Let my story be the last story being told about a girl who went through FGM. I don't want their story to be that. That was my story. Their story is going to be different. And so that's what I want to be told.
Building a school for girls in her community wasn't easy. As a woman, Dr. Ntaiya faced skepticism from her own community. She remained persistent, visiting villages repeatedly and gradually earning their support.
So in the beginning, it was so hard to bring the community together because one is that, they have not really seen like educated girls. There will be one there, two there, but here I was creating a school for girls. And I was talking about ending FGM and child marriage and, everybody. And then the biggest thing is like, I was a woman, I'm a woman. And it's like, what is this child telling us? Like, it was a lot of like getting people to believe what I was doing. It was so hard. But I persevered and I persisted and I ensured that I brought them along. I will come, they don't agree with me, I go back, I sell my ideas in a different way. We sit down, they come, they don't come. I kept going. And that has been, now it's a different story. Like when they hear Kakenya's dream is coming to this village, everybody comes.
Throughout her journey, Dr. Ntaiya has learned the value of patience, persistence, and the power of community.
The biggest advice that I can give to someone who wants to do or who is doing this work is to be patient. Cultural norms and things like FGM, child marriage, girls going to school or valuing girls, it takes a very long time to experience that change. And so it's not like you just dig somewhere and you plant and it grows. You have to be there. And so persistence, patient, it's a thing I learned the hard way myself. And then the other thing is like you have to have a group of people that can work with you.
As she reflects on her journey, Dr. Ntaiya underscores the importance of community and support in her mission.
I'm grounded by the girls. At the end of the day, that's my grounding ground. So if you can find what is your grounding place, then you're good at that. The creation of a community or a team of people that work with you, I think that's something. I have the most talented staff, the most talented board members. I have wonderful girls. I have teachers who are giving all themselves to these girls. And I think I'm just a leader trying to help whatever I can, but the strength of the organization, the strength of the work that I do really is on the people that's on the ground, helping me day in, day out for the girls. And I think I'm grateful for that. I'm very, very grateful for that.